Hey everybody, it's Ethan. Um, I am making a video, and I'm not sure this is going to make it to YouTube. I'm kind of want to make a video about, I guess about my past life. Would be the best way to explain this one. I've been doing a lot of thinking about, just how much my life has changed. Not only in the last year, because I realized as I'm making this video, it was a year ago today that I made my first video, and I never posted the earlier videos I made, and maybe I will someday, but for right now I've kept those. Those are more for me to process how I was dealing with not being able to transition, but knowing that I wanted to, and knowing that was probably the path that I was going to take. But I spent a little less than a year, well, yeah, so about 10 months making those videos, and I've gone back and watched some of them, and they've been pretty helpful, pretty interesting to watch, kind of my progress mentally. And in an odd way, there were some physical changes. Not that I was on hormones, but just in the way I was like presenting myself, and my confidence kind of picked up over the course of those videos, and you can see that, or I can see it in the videos. I may one day post those all up. So anyway, I'm really off topic at this point, but yeah, so it was a year ago today that I made my first video, and this one is gonna be kind of serious, like that one was. That one was pretty serious one. But yeah, I was talking this weekend with my therapist about just my feelings on on things, and as we do with the therapist, it's vague. I'm getting to it. But so, the thing that came up was just like, I'm gonna have to find a way to kind of make peace with my decisions in my past life. This will be better if I just explain where I'm coming from here. Anyway, this is probably the only video I will ever talk about this in. I don't know. I'm not very comfortable talking about it at all, and it's taken me quite a bit to get to making this video. So what I wanted to talk about was I spent the last 5 years in the Army, which is an interesting field of work, among other things. That's not really what I mean. But that was a decision I made at about 17, 18. 17, I made the decision to apply. I'll give you the whole story, I guess. I applied to some ROTC programs for college. I also kind of wanted to enlist, and my parents talked me out of that one. And I had a teacher talk to me about applying to West Point, and I did, and I got in, and that's where I went to college, if you can call it college, I guess. A really different 4-year educational, mental, militaristic experience. I can't even call it a college. It's not. I had a lot of experiences there, and you know, it's supposed to be a hard fought 4 years of your life, and it was. I struggled quite a bit academically. It was not my strong suit. Physically and militarily, I did okay. Yeah, those are my points in which I excelled, if you want to call it that. But that, and I'm saying this now, and talking into this video and realizing, like, I'm not proud of it. There's something to it I can't connect to. And a lot of people would want me to, or would be like, oh, that's such an amazing accomplishment, and it's so great you made it through that. And I've gotten that. Anytime I mention that's where I went to school, and that's what I did, it's like, oh my god, it's such a huge deal. And I have always struggled with hearing that, because it was not a source of pride for me. I didn't feel accomplished being there. And I think a lot of it has to do with I just didn't feel like, I didn't feel very connected to anything that I did as being good or worthwhile, I guess. And I was so removed from myself and pretty numb to just about everything in my life. The best way I can describe it is sleepwalking, and it's kind of, looking back on it, how I feel. Is sleepwalking through my life. And not to say that there weren't some good moments. I have some good memories and some happy moments and some fun times that I had. The best thing I took out of there was the friendships I built, people I'm still friends with today. Yeah, so that was probably my number one accomplishment. I'll say that. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself, and I came out while I was there as gay in my junior year. Yeah, junior year, and not to any, maybe a couple friends, but my family, well, my parents at least, and my siblings. And I had a really hard time. That was a pretty rough period of my life, and there was always something about that coming out experience that I couldn't fully connect to either. But it made sense for what I was going through. I knew I'd had attraction towards women for a long time, even since high school. I knew that. But yeah, and so what I was left with after I did my research and whatnot as much as I could, being at a military academy, and part of the problem was my computer was linked up to a government network, so, and of course at that time Don't Ask, Don't Tell was still fully in place. So yeah, I lived in a lot of fear of being found out and being outed, or being forced, being what's the word? Being kicked out, basically. So there's so much hiding involved. And after I came out to some friends, my senior year, I finally got to meet a few other gay people, and we all talked in like this code. Like, there was a code for how you talk to say things, and that you didn't want other people to understand. Just like layers and layers of secrecy and hiding. And hiding has been a key feature of my life, and it's something that ties into how I feel now and how I'm trying to process everything now. Now that I'm transitioning and I'm out of the Army, and I just don't want to hide anymore. And I'm realizing now how much that hiding kind of took a toll on me, and really shaped a lot of the ways I see things still, and that sometimes it's still my initial reaction is like, oh, I have to hide this, or I have to kind of keep this quiet, but I'm learning not to. I mean, as I open up as a person, that's kind of fading, but it is a deeply ingrained characteristic of mine. So I made it through my 4 years at West Point, which leads to a mandatory 5 years in the Army afterwards, which I did, and I just got out and began my transition. But yeah, the Army was nothing like what West Point kind of made it seem like it was going to be, and trying to make sense of all of that. You know, I joined an Army that had been at war for at least, that was, try not to give out years here, but I'm not good at math in my head. So the Army had kind of been at war for like the last 6 or 7 years by the time I got out of West Point, and I joined into an organization that was, you know, running on low steam already, and I feel like over the course of the 5 years, I didn't really see it getting better, and I had known going into it that I didn't really want to do more than the 5 years that I was mandated to do, and I was fine with that. But as I got closer to getting out, obviously I started struggling with my gender, trying to figure out how to take care of myself while also taking care of soldiers. Many people probably won't understand this concept, but I was an officer, so you know, I had a lot of responsibility and things to run and do and manage and keep track of, other than myself. But I had to find a way to take care of myself too. You know, so I did start therapy, and I did, you know, get to talk a lot of this out the last couple of years of my time in the Army. Thank God. Thank God that I did. You know, there's so many rules in the Army, and I know I broke quite a few by doing that, going outside of the Army for therapy, but if I hadn't, I really don't know what would have happened to me. I probably would not be sitting here talking to everybody now. As sad as that is for me to say, yeah, I'm not sure I would be alive still. But I am, and I'm happy, and my life is definitely getting better. But I also still have a lot to process in terms of just, you know, what the Army does to you. I mean, other than learning to hide things really well, I also, you know, I learned a lot about confidence and maturity, which is great. But I also, you know, so in many ways I felt very mature and advanced for my age. But then in an emotional way, I was so stunted, and there's not a whole lot of growth there until the last couple of years, and then I started, you know, kind of waking up, as my therapist puts it, and that has been a painful but good experience. You know, as I try to figure out where I want my life to go. But you know, in all my therapy and all my work I've done through that, I realized that I don't have a whole lot of compassion for myself sometimes, or others that I see myself reflected in. You know, I've had to try really hard in the last year not to feel like I regretted the decision I made at 17, you know, to do this, to take this path. And, you know, it took over the last 9 years of my life, and that's all I've known as an adult. and trying to not take that out on my 17-year-old self, because sometimes it's been really easy to hate myself for the decision I made, and a lot of anger to process through, just because of how trapped I felt being in the military. Living under Don't Ask, Don't Tell for a long time, and then realizing, as I came into the struggle with my gender, that Don't Ask, Don't Tell didn't cover trans people, and realizing that I had to learn to hide all over again, even as I was trying to really figure myself out. Like, I could be myself on my free time, which is still, against Army regulations, but did it anyway, for my own sanity. But yeah, that, I'm still trying to process some of that, like trying not to be resentful of having gone through that experience, and trying to take away the good things that did happen. But also, again, realizing there's so much indoctrination into that life, and I'm glad I realized that's not what I wanted for myself. For some people, that's okay, and they want that life, being in the military, and I'm not trying to detract from anybody who wants to serve their country. I think it's great that people love their country and want to do good things for it, but that's something I lost along the way, that idealism. I had a lot going into the Army. I fully believed in those ideas of like duty and honor and integrity, and just doing the right thing, and protecting and serving, and sometimes I have a hard time trying to place that now. I did get a little bitter. I saw a lot of bad things going on in the Army, and ways in which leaders just failed to take care of a lot of the issues. And something I've struggled with recently, having watched, I don't know if any of you have watched it. If you haven't, it's a good documentary just to watch. But the Invisible War, it's about sexual assault in the military. And I was never sexually assaulted or harassed, thank God. But I knew of it going on, and I watched that documentary, and it was very hard to watch. I almost didn't get through the first half hour. I almost turned it off after the first 15 minutes, I think. It was extremely hard to watch, and it was hard to watch other people lose their faith and ideals in the military that they had going in. They were so excited to be taking this path, and one single incident of rape could just rip that out of their hands. It's hard to watch that, and I've had to do a lot of rethinking of things, because I think in the military there's this mindset is that a lot of fault is placed on the victim, and we never really do anything for them. There's all kinds of cool little programs and acronyms the Army came up with to deal with sexual assault, but it really never gets to the problem. The target audience is men that need to be, really talked to. It's not the women. It's not their fault. It's not their problem. They didn't create it. It's men. And as I transition and become a man, I realize that's a problem that I'm having to take on. I've had to really rethink some of my ideas, and realize that just how much the Army kind of warped my sense of I don't know, my sense of the injustice of it. I mean, there was definitely, I felt very strongly about it, but I also found myself adopting some of these notions of, it's up to the victim to take care of themselves. And I put a lot on, women not putting themselves in positions to get assaulted or raped. And I took pride in the fact that it never happened to me. Like I managed it. Why couldn't these other women? And that is such a horrible thing to realize that you think. And it was almost like sometimes I'd be angry at the women who couldn't take care of themselves and make sure that things didn't happen to them. And that's not right. And it's taking some soul searching and introspection for me to really wrap my mind around just how much the Army gets into you, and it's totally the mentality that the Army has towards sexual assault and rape, and it's why they'll never fix it. When somebody reports a rape and your first question is, well, what were you doing? You're already going down the wrong road. And I don't know how the Army will ever straighten itself out in that respect. They're going to have to do a lot of cleaning up of the organization. But the trick will be to figure out how you separate a culture that embraces violence, and because they have to, that their charge is to go out and fight our nation's wars and win them, and defend the country, and that requires a lot of violence. And how do you separate men and violence and sexual assault, because that is the ultimate act of violence against somebody? I don't know. And I'm not saying the military is training people to be rapists, but if you have somebody that already has that inclination and you teach them that you glorify, violence of action and violence and, those kind of, violence, then you're just helping them, enabling them. And, the other problem is the military just does not deal with this. I very rarely saw anybody charged for this, and it comes down to a lot of issues with how the Army deals with problems anyway. There's so much power in the hands of the commander, and if the commander fails to take proper action, then nothing happens to the perpetrator. And watching the documentary, I did see that they have subsequently taken that power out of the hands of the commander. They can no longer be the judge in any kind of sexual assault cases, which is great, but I don't know who it fell to. And I didn't know that, and I just got out of the Army, and that's been in place for the last year supposedly. So they're not doing a great job taking care of it. And I'm not talking, there aren't just women victims, there are men that are victimized. It's a problem, and so that's something also that I've had to kind of mull over and rethink, and it's just making me angrier. It's kind of making me angry talking about it right now, and I realize I've gone on for quite a long time, so I'm gonna try and cut this video up, but I'm probably gonna have to cut it in half, I guess, to fit it all on YouTube. But yeah, I'm just trying to process all of this, and I don't know, and that, if any of you are struggling with decisions you made and in your prior lives, and that you're trying to live with now, and I say that knowing that I didn't do anything like fundamentally wrong. It's just I made the decision to join this organization, and now I'm trying to process how to kind of separate myself from that organization and not be resentful of it and my decision to be in it. And that's tough. It's complex, and I'm not doing the greatest job working it out here on this video, but those are just kind of my thoughts right now. And yeah, I've got some peace to make with that. And yeah, it's gonna be a fight, I think. You know, a lot of me wants to go out and stand in front of recruiting stations and talk to people before they make this decision. Like, you know, I want people to be really clear what they're stepping into. And yeah, I got out. I had to get out. And you know, it's probably helped me, I would venture to say, as much as, if not maybe more than deciding to transition. It's been a freeing experience to be outside of it, and now that I'm outside of it, I just have to process a lot of things that I didn't realize had become a part of me and my mentality because of being in that culture. And you know, the good thing is I know, you know, I know what I want for my life now, and you know, I just keep heading in that direction, and hopefully things will kind of work themselves out. But yeah, there's definitely still some processing to do, and I'm sure I'll realize more things as I go on that I don't, you know, that I don't want to carry with me from the Army, but that I still need to extract the things that were good about it, because there were good things, and I did learn a lot. You know, so yeah, that's my long rambling video, and it's gonna be fun to think of a title for it. Yeah, so for any of you out there that are watching these videos that are trans and that are, you know, you're in the military, you know, I guess if you want to stay in, but you know, the best decision for you might be to get out, so you can really fully move into your new life instead of having to hide and not be yourself in the military. And I know people who have decided to stay in and kind of put their personal life on hold, and you know, maybe I'm just selfish, but I couldn't do it. So, and there are plenty of ways I can, you know, help my country outside of the Army. So at the end of the day, I made the best decision for myself. And but you know, if you're out there and you are in the military, just, you know, watch yourself, take care of yourself, and get help if you need it. I was afraid for a long time to get help because I was afraid of what the military would do to me if they found out. But you know, if I'd gone down that path much longer, I would have been another statistic. So I'm glad I got help. And yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I'm not really sure how to wrap this up, but if you have any questions, let me know, or you want to talk about it with me, let me know. Otherwise, until next time, take care, everybody.